Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Michael Voss, your friend, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, here in No Soundbites Allowed. We're having a great time because it's Thursday and we're going to be looking at what's happening now. It's just crazy. I'm looking at the news. It's coming out fast and furious, and I have to tell you, it just makes no sense whatsoever. Now, by the way, on Friday, I expect to be interviewing a couple of candidates in the local Southern Tier region. I will be talking with the conservative standing tall, talking with some of the students over at Binghamton University about the latest developments with Tom Reed, and of course the University Harvey Stenger. But more importantly, and that'll be live on Friday, but what I want to talk about right now, you've probably heard it by now. There's news that, that the Democrats, they want to protect you. Democrats want to protect you from life. They want to protect you by running your life. And it's just really crazy. So let's think about it. Yesterday, Senator Elizabeth Warren, took a moment away from her attempt to impeach President Trump, something that's going to be a benefit to her politically, so she won't recuse herself, but she will vote against the president so that she can become president. Tell me how that's not a conflict of interest. But Elizabeth Warren came out with an announcement yesterday that she's got an answer for the internet, for the social media. Because I know every one of the progressives hates when anyone doesn't agree with them. A lot of the fringe left and the progressives don't like it when someone has an idea that isn't their idea. And to prevent all of that, Elizabeth Warren wants to protect you by shutting down the First Amendment altogether, to destroy social media and the press all at once. Isn't that great? You are going to be protected from, the way she mentioned it, and I'm quoting her based on the National Review article this morning. She said, quote, "Disinformation and online foreign interference erode our democracy, and Donald Trump has invited both." Okay, let's think about that for a second. So before Donald Trump, there was an internet, and the Democrats didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that people could talk about the issues or look up their past history and their voting records. They've always been upset about that. But instead, now it's about Donald Trump, because internet and internet trolls didn't exist before him. Fine. And that online interference in our elections have been happening since America had elections. It's always been the case. We've had all the nations in the world always trying to interfere in our elections. Every election, that's not new. China, Russia, Israel, England, Germany, everyone is involved in our elections. They always have been. So that's not new. But Elizabeth Warren says, this is too much. We're in trouble because the Russians, they won the election for President Trump somehow. Even though we had $38 million spent, we investigated it, and it was found that the Russians did not influence the United States elections. But no problem. She's a Democrat. She's going to protect you. So she's going to remove that ability by protecting us, by the government creating another department. So the government's going to grow, which means your taxes are going to increase, and the government will be a watchdog on what's on social media, and they will determine somehow who is disinforming you. So that when she makes a statement that she is a Cherokee Indian, you cannot come out and say, well, actually, you're 1/1024th Cherokee Indian, which means you're not. You can't say that because that would be disinformation. So you can't go around and just check on these politicians. Like when Anthony Brindisi says in a town hall that just go to congress.gov, I've passed 5 bills. And when he says that the fentanyl bill was his bill and that he was the lead on it and that he helped pass it, that was why that bill passed, because of him. As he said at the Binghamton Town Hall, when you go and check on the congress.gov and you find that he is not the lead sponsor of that. He did not lead on that. He was one of about 200 members who sponsored the bill, and that he had nothing to do with it. The work was done by another representative, not Anthony Brindisi. Well, if you tell people that, that's disinformation as well. Why? Because it's telling the truth about a Democrat, and they don't want you to know the truth. That's why he lied to the public. And yes, that's a lie. When Anthony Brindisi said Congress.gov has the truth, and he's saying that he did the work, and he didn't, when he said it's his bill and it's not, that's a lie. By the way, Anthony, if you dispute that, let's go to the videotape, which I have already published, where you said that. So, too bad, you lied to the public, to your constituents. But this is how Democrats protect us. By telling us things and then telling you not to look them up. And if you do look them up, don't tell anyone else, because that's disinformation. But the Democrats are trying to protect you. And we see this with Mike Bloomberg, a guy who is so confident that Democrats have no chance, and that everyone who's been out there for 2 years trying to run for president, that they are so poor in their chances against President Trump, that he decided to jump into the race a year after everyone else was already collecting money. This guy is a guy who says that taxing the poor is good because it makes them do what he wants them to do. He wants to tax and be able to control what you eat, what you drink. He wants to control whether or not you can have a firearm and protect yourself. And that he would be happy, as he said about the Texas church shooting, where the church defended itself, that it would be okay for those people to die because they shouldn't have the right to have a gun. That's very interesting. But this is because Democrats will protect you. Remember, this is Bernie Sanders, who wants to protect you with your health care. He wants to give you exactly the same health care as everyone else. So if you happen to be a woman, you can get and pay for a prostate exam. If you happen to be a guy, you're going to pay for OBGYN care. The fact that you will never use it is meaningless, because there are no genders. You're going to pay for everything, whether you use it or not. And if you want coverage, like say an MRI or breast cancer treatment, well, you don't really get that because it's too expensive, and it's cheaper for you to die than to get the coverage, because Democrats will protect you. Democrats want to protect you, like Andrew Yang, who comes out, and Yang doesn't think you have the ability to do finances. He doesn't think you can pay your own way through life. So he wants to give you $1,000 as long as you vote for him, which is not a conflict of interest at all. That's not buying votes. When you promise you're going to pay people $1,000, which if you look at the fine details, not everyone gets $1,000. I'm not talking about the rich. I'm talking about the poor do not get $1,000. But that's, semantics, or, reading the fine details there. Doesn't really matter, because he's going to give you $1,000 as long as you vote for him, and he's going to protect you because you can't pay your own bills. You're just not that smart, because Democrats will protect you. And Democrats are going to protect you from thinking. That's why groups like Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT, that's why they're out there, as they're going to campuses like Binghamton University, where they just announced, as I mentioned yesterday in a post, that, you know what, the best thing that progressives can do, progressives have such great ideas. They are so correct on those ideas that the best thing that progressives can do is to go hide in the shadows and not tell anyone, and to make their social media accounts private so no one can see them, so that they can have a nice little cult where they talk to each other about how great each of them are and how great their ideas are, and don't tell anyone else, and don't let anyone else challenge it. No one else thinks about it. No, instead, you're just going to keep it all real quiet amongst the cult members, and no one needs to think about it or hear an actual idea from someone else that might actually be better. No, because Democrats, like PLOT, like the fringe left, no, Democrats are here to protect you. You're going to be protected. Just like they all have come together and said, bail reform is going to protect you. That's right. No one should be in jail after the age of 55. No one should serve more than 30 years in jail. Nobody should go to jail and have to pay bail, because those are all evil, racist things. And besides, why shouldn't a rapist be let out of jail just because they hit the age 55? It's time to retire, time to get out of jail. This is what they're promoting. Why should someone who's a violent felon, who gets caught with millions of dollars worth of drugs, illegal drugs that are killing children. Yes, addicts, drug dealers sell to children. They don't care how old the addicts are, and they don't care the lives that are destroyed. Look at the opioid epidemic. Look at what they're doing. And I'm talking about heroin. They're selling the heroin. They don't care if you're 18 or not. They're selling, and the kids are dying. We know this. This is a fact. But they're going to protect you by letting these people out. They don't go to jail. They don't get bail. They beat up on someone, let them back out. They broke into your home, let them back out. Matter of fact, give them a legal right to come to your home and harass you even more. As we have seen reports over and over showing that's exactly what's happening, because the Democrats are protecting you. Remember, this is them protecting you. They're going to take away your food. They're going to take away your health. They're going to take away your finances. They're taking away your thinking. They're taking away your media and your free speech, because they're going to protect you. And of course, ultimately, you can't have a gun to defend yourself from the government, because the government is there to protect you. And if you need a gun, you must be a bad guy, so the government must come and get you. That's why they have red flag laws, to take your firearms, because you're too dangerous if you want to complain and be against what the Democrats are offering. Seriously, folks, are you not concerned about this? Why in the world are the rank and file Democrats? Actually, we know rank and file Democrats don't agree with this. What is it? The recent polling from Iowa says 54% of Democrats don't like anyone who's running right now. Yes, Biden is leading. Yes, or excuse me, Sanders is now leading, and Biden's right there behind him. Who cares? Yes, the top four are Biden and Sanders and Bloomberg and Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren. Fantastic. But 54% of Democrats don't like what they're offering, because Democrats are trying to protect you by taking away your life. They're offering you the same thing that was offered in China, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. Don't worry, the government's going to take care of you. You will get everything that the government thinks you should have. And that's why people are starving in the streets in Venezuela. There are riots all over the place, rampant health care issues. Measles is back, mumps is back because of Venezuela, in Venezuela and spreading on out. You have no freedoms. People in Hong Kong are fighting for their lives to get rid of the communist system to become more like America. But don't worry, Democrats will protect you by giving you the systems that everyone else is abandoning. The rest of the world is getting rid of single payer. No one likes waiting 11 hours to get an MRI. But you're going to get that, because that's what the Democrats want to do, because they're going to protect you. Really. This is crazy. I'm serious. Now, if you think I've got this wrong, if you think I misunderstand, if you think I have blown this out of proportions, that Elizabeth Warren hasn't said that she wants to defend you by cutting down disinformation, by having the government decide what is and what is not information, you know what, please, I want to hear that argument. If you want to tell me that you're listening to Mike Bloomberg, who on RealClearPolitics came out, and it's, the article's out there, and that was back on May 24th of 2018, when he said, yeah, it's great to tax the poor people to make them do what I want them to do. If you think that's somehow I'm misunderstanding that, if you don't remember when Adam Schiff was speaking at the impeachment in the Senate and said the president's misconduct cannot be decided at the ballot box, he said, you are not smart enough to make a vote. And since you can't be trusted to make the vote, he then goes on to say, for we cannot be assured that the vote will be fairly won. Let me say it again. This is a direct quote, which has been reported by, this is a fact check from, I want to make sure I get it right, Senator Cruz, but he says, and the quote exactly is, the president's misconduct cannot be decided at the ballot box, for we cannot be assured that the vote will be fairly won, because you are not smart enough to not vote for President Trump. That's what Adam Schiff is afraid of. That's what Democrats are afraid of. You're not smart enough to know that Trump is evil, And therefore, you have to vote Democrat. And if you don't, well, that means we have to impeach him to make sure we can win, because that's the only way to be sure. So your vote doesn't matter. Your vote is nullified. You as an American and your rights are being nullified. If you think I'm wrong on these things, and these are quotes, check it. Look on Google. Look this stuff up, folks. It's right there in front of you. And if you think I'm wrong, if I'm not understanding it, if you're telling me that Democrats aren't promising left and right that they want to protect you by taking away your rights and your choices, if you think I'm wrong about that, I'd love to hear about it. You can reach me at MV Consult on Twitter. You can reach me on Facebook at Voss Political Commentary. Of course, you can reach me on YouTube here at No Soundbites Allowed. And of course, you can reach us at 607-242-1582. I look forward to speaking with you. You'll see me tomorrow. This is No Soundbites Allowed. Thank you for joining us.